people such exceptional performers. How do they manage to do something so startlingly original or create a breakthrough so grand it leaves the rest of us gaping? Often they could come from the humblest of backgrounds, have the most minimal of education, and yet there's something that drives them to perform at extraordinary levels. That's what we're going to look at today. What differentiates breakthrough performers and what can the rest of us learn from them? Harvard researcher David McClelland, who has extensively studied achievement motivation in people, found that only a very small number, perhaps 3% people, are naturally hardwired to be exceptional achievers. It's an ability they are born with. According to the law of natural selection, in a pride of lions, only a few will naturally lead the pride. The rest will follow. So too with human beings. But while only 3% have this natural hardwiring, McClelland also found that the rest of us, 97%, can be triggered to be exceptional performers. Since it doesn't come naturally to us, it requires a strategy. These people do is break through where others get held back. They take risks, they're even seduced by risks. What's really going on in their brains? Anand David is a breakthrough scientist. He heads Manford Alliance, an organizational development firm. He has worked with several organizations both in India and abroad. He uses some pretty unconventional methods to shake us out of our comfort zones, including arousing both aspiration and disgust. He calls it violating the way you think, value, and believe. Anand, how did your interest in this area come about?
I came across scientists who are working on exceptional behavior. Why do people want to be extraordinary? Why do they want to step out and be different? And came across a scientist called David McClelland. He used to visit our country, especially a small town called Kakinada, where he found that a small portion of the people are able to sustain exceptional behavior over a long period of time. And he called those people with high need for achievement.
What are some of the reasons that people are held back from being exceptional performers?
The primary reason is that we are conditioned people. Just like animals are conditioned, so also human beings are conditioned. We are deterministic in the way we see life. We are deterministic because of the genes that we have, or the psychoprofile that we have, or the environment we come from. So if there's a stimulus, there's a tendency to respond immediately to the stimulus. Whereas between the stimulus and the response is a small gap. And we can actually manage a small gap and look for alternatives. Okay, that's the real trick.
What's the kind of prison that belief systems, conditioning can put people into, and how does this hold them back?
See, if we take the example of teachers, okay, the belief is this is how we need to teach. If we take an illustration from leadership, this is the way to lead. So we are trapped in our ways of leading, in the ways of teaching, in the ways of learning, and hence we come from that automatic way of being. And we'll only do what we've always done.
Companies also get conditioned to certain ways of doing business.
100%. They have their own cultures. They have their own ways, repeatedly doing it again and again and again, and ultimately they get trapped. They would not even know that to shift your fingers from here to here, it's going to be uncomfortable. And when they do it for the first time, they say, oh, from shifting from here to here is uncomfortable. I can imagine what's going to happen if I'm going to shift the whole organization the way it is presently functioning. So the whole learning there is that all breakthroughs are accompanied by discomfort. No breakthrough ever takes place inside the comfort zone. It's always when we dare to step out.
with companies involve?
We are primarily in the unsettling business and demonstrating possibilities which they have not considered before. Typically, we would take the people who are in the top management through an experience called defreezing, moving, and freezing. In simple terms, it just means that whatever behaviors you have currently in the way you lead are unsettled in a 4-day, 4-night intervention. How do we actually multiply people in our organization? Now, the person who had come and said never ever knew that there was a process of coaching and mentoring which could actually multiply in a far higher manner or many more in a shorter span of time. And when he went through this exercise, he said, what really happened to me was that I saw something that I never ever knew during the workshop. And soon after, my company's turnover doubled and then went up threefold just because I stepped out and did something which I never ever done.
And what did he see?
He actually saw the process of multiplying, which he never knew how to do it. He knew that he was good, but he did not know how to make 6 people just like him. So the whole thing was relying on him. And he discovered that on that particular...
which are bigger than endings and losses. So it's actually a planned HR strategy. That these are the things they're going to lose. This is ending for them. What's opening for them? What's gaining for them? And if this is bigger, you'll go for that. If it is not going to be bigger, you'll fight it tooth and nail. Question.
Thanks, Anand. It was very...
The two people play the match. That you know, right? And if one loses, they can't play thereafter. It's a knockout match, right? Every year, 128 people play the match. Right, guys? 128 people play the match every year. We're trying to find out the number of each matches that need to be played in order to get the final winner. 1 to 8 people play the match. How many can play in one match for the singles trophy? 2. So how many matches will be there in the first one, first round? 128 divided by 2. How much will that be? 64. 64 divided by 2 will be 32. 32 divided by 2 will be 16. Got it? 16 divided by 2 will be 8. 8 divided by 2 will be 4, 2, 1. You add them all up, you'll get your answer. You're right. Right? And we all do it world over. Dividing by 2. Right? Tell me, how many people can win the trophy ultimately? How many should have lost? That should have been the number of matches. 64. Thank you. 64 plus 32 plus 16 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 127. But all along in our life, somebody taught us way long back that you can divide by 2, 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 and merrily we keep dividing by 2 to add them all up and get the answer. Whether you're in production, whether you're in marketing, wherever you are, we all have a tendency to get stuck. Okay, Pooja and I are going to demonstrate one collective exercise, all of us. Can you all do this please together with me? Can you all hold your fingers like this? Got it? Right? Yeah, got it. Yeah. Okay, now tell me which thumb was on the top, the left thumb or the right thumb? You can't, left, right, it sounds like march past to me. Right, left, right. How come you have left and somebody else has the right? Right, so all of you will open your fingers and lace it the other way. Got it? And lace it the other way. How are you finding it now? Pooja, how are you finding it? Little different. How are you finding it? Uncomfortable. ये तो ठीक नहीं. Something is not okay over here. A small thing from shifting from here to here, our mind gets trapped and conditioned. We can talk of neuroplasticity. To practice it is a different issue altogether. And we are going to make it happen. It has to happen, otherwise change will not happen. We're going to have this difficulty. Neuroplasticity means plastic and making it happen. Thank you, Pooja. Right? The last exercise is tell you all our minds sitting, everybody sitting over here can get conditioned. And we're going to have Nitin for that. That's a tough one. Right? He's a tough guy, so we'll do a tough exercise with him. A man called Jean Fabre, Frenchman. The year was 1907 or 1914. I'm not very certain. He did this exercise with folks back at our work. You know, folks back at our work, the way they work, they go round and round. Have you seen them? Right? At least my office, it happens again and again. So he took a flower pot and he put some caterpillars around the flower pot. He called it the processionary caterpillar. One caterpillar behind the other caterpillar. And he put luscious green leaves in the center. And he was hoping that somebody would question what is happening. Right? How is the future going to look like? How is human resources going to be managed in the future? What has the past got to do with the future? How much is it going to hold on to us? So these caterpillars started moving. They moved round and round, round and round. And Jean Fabre was hoping somebody over here would question and say, hey, this doesn't work.
So what role are you playing today?
Every day, many roles, one car.
There is a product out there that's just right for you. Leave it to us to shop around for you. Value for money. Tomorrow afternoon at 12:30, only on NDTV Profit. Value for money brought to you by SBI International Credit Cards. जो दिखता है वही मिलता है. Religare, partnering wealth creation. Legrand, ideas that click. And pension plans from HDFC Standard Life. Take pride in giving even after retirement.
Women from Kolkata and from Delhi come together to tell us why the stock markets are no longer just a man's domain. Join us for a discussion with Millennium Mams on Buy or Sell. Watch Buy or Sell weekdays 11:30 a.m. only on NDTV Profit.
Those of us who aren't born with the natural ability to be exceptional performers can be triggered to succeed. However, it's hard to sustain that because we will keep slipping back into our default conditioning, which means we need to create ways to stay consciously stimulated.
The best way to stay unconditioned is to stay in the companionship of people who are unconditioned. Automatically, you are spurred to keep on looking for possibilities and opportunities.
So you're saying stay in the company of people who tend to think creatively, laterally, who are always questioning things. Those kind of people can fire your brain up in different ways.
Yeah, and I would call them as enterprising people or entrepreneurs. They're constantly looking for ways to be. Like they're like a fisherman. You go to the sea, and if the sea gets rough, they would go to the lake. If the lake gets rough, if the lake is getting dry, they would go to the well. If the well gets dry, they would go somewhere. But ultimately, they'll keep on changing ways, and all that they know is that we are great fishermen, and they'll find ways to do it.
One of the things you said that is essential to having a breakthrough attitude is to start questioning. What kind of questions should you be asking? What kind of new questions should you be asking?
Anything which I would do, I would say, is this the best way to do? Are there better ways to do? Are there better ways to teach? Are there better ways to learn? Are there better ways to write? Are there better ways to communicate? Are there better ways to design? All of us are called to a life of exception. It's a question of, are we choosing to be exceptional? Okay, are we choosing to be extraordinary? The whole trick is to keep on looking for alternatives. There must be a better way, there must be a better way, there must be a better way. If there's a better way, let's go and take it and make it happen.
It takes a lot of stamina, psychological stamina to still...
And that's why they are 3%. Because there's only 3% who can sustain the stamina to look for breakthroughs again and again and again and again till they actually see it.
Breakthrough people have certain common character traits. They question how things are. They question conformism. They are not emotionally affected by ridicule. They have a high belief in self. They are seduced by risk. They are disgusted at the status quo. They are driven, restless, and they never give up.
Another way that people sustain breakthrough is actually to work with a coach that actually who supports you to be in the state of breakthrough always.
What would a good coach do?
A good coach will enable to generate solutions within you as a person, the person whom you're partnering with, right? And the joy of the coach is to see a breakthrough in the other person's life.
And what would your turnover be for this store, which is one of the most popular stores?
See, we
You see many people around who are very successful, very famous, but they haven't created anything new. They haven't broken new ground. These guys are different. They are the ones who ventured out of their safe, comfortable shores and took risks. They dared, they failed, they dared again. As someone put it so well, if you don't risk anything, you risk even more. See you next week. Goodbye.